So the last time I had updated you guys, I had quit the low histamine diet, and I don't think I really mentioned it too much since then. Well, I did go back on it, but when I did, I was a little bit less strict because I think that was where I had failed is I was way too strict, and this diet is very, very difficult, especially in our modern day and age. It is so hard to find sources of food that are truly low histamine, specifically like protein and snacks and all of that. It is very, very difficult. So being really strict on a low histamine diet was very, very difficult for me to stick with it. And I went back onto the low histamine diet shortly after with just a little bit more freedom to eat things that were maybe in the yellow range, but not completely like red and high histamine. I actually started to see results, and it was a lot easier for me to stay consistent. Was consistent on doing the a little bit less strict of a low histamine diet for quite some time, actually a few months, and then we moved, and it was a little bit harder for me to stick to my low histamine diet because you have to cook a lot of the things that you eat from home. It's really, really hard to eat out when you're on the low histamine diet. It's not impossible, it's just a little bit harder. So once we moved, I started to slowly kind of reintroduce things into my diet, and then I was full blown kind of just eating anything, still healthy, but certain things like tomatoes or citrus fruits, which are healthy things, are not good when you are on a low histamine diet. At first, everything was fine, and so I was feeling like, okay, maybe things are better, maybe I've healed. And I even stopped taking my supplements after some time, which was also not good. And I definitely jumped the gun because my hives started to creep back in slowly and slowly until they got very, very bad again. So I knew that I needed to go back onto my protocol with my supplements and the foods that I was eating. If you're new here and you've never seen me before, I have talked about a few times here on this channel that I struggle with chronic hives, and I have struggled with chronic hives for a number of years now. For the first couple years, I was misdiagnosed. Different practitioners were saying that I had eczema or that I had some sort of yeast infection on my skin or ringworm even. Then finally, after years of being misdiagnosed, once my symptoms were more consistent, because in the beginning they were kind of come and go, when my symptoms were very, very consistent, I was finally able to seen by a, I guess, more niche doctor, an allergist, and they were able to diagnose that I had chronic hives. On a very popular shot that people with chronic hives take, it is called Xolair. You have to go into a doctor's office like about once a month. I think it depends on the person, but for me it was about once a month, and you take 2 injections. I did it in the back of my arms every single month, and your symptoms would slowly fade after you got the shot, but it would only last for a couple weeks. Then you need to repeat the process. And I would notice that in the week leading up to the shots, I would start to get itchy again. So this went on for several years, and the Xolair shots, in my opinion, were kind of like a band-aid. And it was miserable at times when there was a scheduling error on my end or their end or even my insurance's end. There was a time where I switched insurances and they couldn't verify me continuing to get the shot, even though I had been on this shot for years at this point. That was my last straw with being on this shot because I just kept being told that my symptoms would just go away after a certain amount of time. And at first they had made it seem like it was only going to be a year, then 2 years, and then now at this point it was kind of indefinite. And I wanted to know what was causing this, and they weren't really telling me, and they weren't further testing to try to figure out. So that is how I came onto this more holistic and natural way of healing the chronic hives. And I have seen results by doing the things that I'm doing, and I just need to keep going. I can't jump the gun, and I'm very confident in the route that I'm going in to get rid of the chronic hives once and for all, and just to heal my body. But just a little science, little explanation about histamine. So I mentioned that I'm on the low histamine diet for healing my chronic hives. So histamine is a natural compound that is found in your body. It's also found in foods. It's just a natural compound that is found in living organisms. In itself, it is not a bad thing. Histamine helps with our digestion, our immune system, and it even acts like a messenger between our nerves. But the issue is when histamine builds up too much, it can cause issues like hives, headaches, stomach issues, inflammation. The list honestly goes on for quite some time of the things that can be affected by a high level of histamine. One that I see a lot for content creators that post about low histamine is actually women that struggle with their PMS symptoms, and they notice that after they have gone through the low histamine diet for quite some time and healed some things in their body, they notice that their periods are lighter, that they don't have these like heavy PMS symptoms anymore. Their histamine balanced is super important. So I'm going to be going through a day of what I ate, and this was a pretty good day for me. Now, like I said, I'm not on a strict low histamine diet. My goal is to just limit those high histamine foods and just try my best to be as low histamine as possible. So let's get into what I ate for breakfast this day. This was actually my first time trying out chia seed pudding. I recently got this bag of organic chia seeds and I made this overnight. It was very simple, very quick, and I did not mind how it tasted at all. It does have a very interesting texture though, but I do like that chia seeds are a little bit protein packed, so my breakfast ended up being about 15 grams of protein, which is not too bad. So in my bowl, I put some chia seeds, some organic whole milk, and some maple syrup just to sweeten it up a little bit. Let that set overnight, and then in the morning, I mixed it up and added some blackberries and some raspberries. Berries are pretty good for the low histamine diet, and they're also really great at clearing out histamine in your body. I'm not just trying to eat things that are low histamine. I also want to try to include things that are going to be good at clearing out the excess histamine. Vitamin C is one of those really important things that helps to do this. For lunch today, I kept it pretty simple, and I am not using a lot of seasoning. You'll notice the trend as we go through all of the foods. So for my lunch, I had 2 boiled eggs. I ended up having 2 chicken sausages. I know I only showed one on my plate, but I ended up going back for a second one. And I had some sweet potatoes with some grass-fed butter and some pink salt. And I love these little packs of fresh mozzarella. I'll throw them into some meals. I'll even eat them as a snack. They're just so easy. They're a good low histamine. Cheese, a lot of cheeses are not low histamine because anything that's aged or fermented is going to be higher in histamine. So fresh mozzarella is a go-to cheese in the low histamine diet. And the chicken sausages are probably not the lowest in histamine. Protein is pretty hard because histamine rises a lot in the whole production and storage of meats. So for meats, it's going to be really hard to find a meat that is truly low histamine. For dinner, I had a plate of broccoli and sweet potatoes, and these were seasoned the same way. I ended up roasting some garlic, and I waited for it to be nice and soft so that it can be nice and spreadable, and I used that as my seasoning in both of the sides with some more pink salt. And then I had some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, which were regularly seasoned because, let's face it, unseasoned chicken is disgusting. For snacks today, I ate a pear, which is another fruit that has vitamin C that helps to clear out histamine, fresh mozzarella, and these crispy coconut rolls that I found at Costco. Snacks are really hard for the low histamine diet because anything that's processed is probably going to be higher in histamine. So your best bet is to definitely eat fruits as your snack, maybe vegetables, things of that sort. But like I said, it's not going to be perfect, so just whatever I can do to make sure that I'm limiting high histamine things. For drinks, I had nettle tea, which is amazing. It is a natural antihistamine. It also has anti-inflammatory properties that help your body. And I also had some organic coconut water. Coconut water is great. It's very hydrating. It gives your body electrolytes. It has magnesium and potassium. So it's really great for giving your body that overall support that it needs to flush out the excess histamine. So I also wanted to share these supplements that I'm taking before each meal, about 15 minutes. Sometimes if I forget, I'll just take it directly before I eat. But I take a DAO enzyme, which is already in our body, but for people that struggle with having high histamine in their body, this enzyme just helps to break down your food, especially if you are eating things that are higher in histamine. But in general, it just helps you when you're eating. So I take this DAO enzyme every time I eat something, and then at night I'll take my probiotic. I have a specific probiotic that is for people that have higher histamine levels. There are certain probiotics that will actually trigger your body, so this probiotic is the one that I use. And I also take L-theanine and some magnesium. After lunch, sometimes I do forget, but after lunch I try to take quercetin, which is another really good antihistamine, flushing out the excess histamine from your body supplement. Already I'm starting to see results again. This time I'm not going to jump the gun. I will be consistent. My plan is to be consistent now with this for about 3 months. There may be some days that I eat a little bit not so great, but the goal is to just get back on track, and we'll see from there. So that is what I ate today, and this was a pretty good day, honestly, of what I ate. Like I said, some days it will not be perfect or as good as this, but I have just taken off the pressure of being super strict about what I eat and just focusing on being as low histamine as possible. And that has honestly helped me to be a lot more consistent with continuing this out. And I'm not going to jump the gun this time. My goal is to reevaluate after 3 months to see how things are going, just staying consistent with this, and then we will see. But I'm excited. I'm already seeing results again now that I have started back up eating the way that I am and consistent on taking my supplements. So I'm very, very excited and hopeful that there is healing and ridding of this condition from my body very, very soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some insight. If you're on the low histamine journey with me, then we're on this journey together. And yeah, I'll update you guys when I have updates about this soon. But thank you so much for watching, and God bless you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.